that the results will change. We seemingly won't learn from history, and so we keep on repeating it. And our children somehow think that they are immune from the mistakes that we try so hard to make sure that they avoid, but yet the cycle continues. When we look at what's going on, we discover that we're in trouble because of what's happening with our men. Yeah, many of our fathers are either catching hell or raising hell. In many instances, our fathers are stressed out, and yet some remain strong. Some work hard, raise their families, and try to be good examples despite the odds being stacked against them. But then in other instances, we have those daddies who have just given up and are absent altogether. Fathers who are making excuses about being AWOL. Come on, blaming the baby mama, blaming their own mama, never manning up to take responsibility for their own lives. Not only are men out there in trouble, but then we have some of our mothers and our women who also find themselves catching hell. Many of our sisters find themselves distressed, and yet they are determined. They find themselves repressed, yet they are resilient. They find themselves stressed, yet they remain strong. And we thank God because, brothers, if it had not been for the sisters, I really don't know where we would be right now. Sisters, can I get a whoop? Oh yeah, oh yeah. And not only are men and our women in trouble, but then our children are in trouble. They find themselves catching hell as well. They catch hell when they go to school. They catch hell when they come home. They catch hell on the streets of our cities and towns. They catch hell all over the place. We're catching hell all over. And the cycle keeps going on and on to the break of dawn. Am I preaching to somebody? Well, look at our text here in Genesis. We see that Jacob's family was all jacked up. I mean, his family was as dysfunctional as they come. Not only was his immediate family a bag of mixed nuts, but he came out of a family that was jacked up. When Jacob was born, he was named Jacob by his parents. Now, let me explain something to you, because, see, in that day, they didn't do things like we do things today. They didn't name their children any old stuff. They didn't name their children after their favorite car. There were no Porsches, no Chevrolets, no Mercedes. Come on, they didn't name their children after their favorite drink. No pina coladas, no tequilas. Y'all getting deep on me in here. They didn't name their children from the ghetto book of baby names. There were no Rashanas, no Shafiqas. I hope ain't none of y'all in here. But your name meant something. It was a prophecy about your pilgrimage. And his family named him Jacob. Now, who looks through the books of baby names and names their baby Jacob? Because Jacob meant slick, conniving, trickster. They named him that because when he came out of the womb, he was clutching the heel of his brother Esau. Oh, yeah. He was a heel clutcher. We got some heel clutchers in the church now. Oh, yeah. But check this out. Check this out. There was a family rivalry going on. His daddy favored his twin brother Esau, but his mama favored him. Now, you know there was drama going on in that house. Oh yeah, can you imagine being a son in a male-dominated culture and growing up in a household where you desire the affection of your daddy, but your daddy instead favors another sibling? In a male-dominated world, Jacob was a mama's boy. Now, ladies, you know what you feel about mama's boys. Come on, help me, ladies. And it's ironic that women reject and don't want mama's boys for their man, but then they turn around and create mama's boys with their own sons. If you don't want no mama's boy, why are you raising a mama's boy for somebody else? Now, I know I'm making a slight detour here, but it's ironic how women, sisters, I don't mean to harp on y'all, how they reject a man that lives with his mama. I got an amen over there, didn't I? Sisters, now you know when that brother, no matter how much swag he got, when you find out he lived with his mama, pump the brakes. Sisters are with me right now, Bishop. They're not about to be in a minute. Now, sisters, it's amazing. Oh, God, help me here. How sisters reject a man that lives with his mama, but will open the door wide for a man that lives with his wife. Am I preaching to somebody in here? Jacob wanted the attention of his daddy, but his daddy favored Esau. Your name might not be Jacob, but some of you know what it is to grow up in a household craving the affection, attention, and admiration of a parent, but their attention is someplace else and you feel rejected by that parent. That's what was going on in Jacob's family. Even though he physically and geographically left that family and went to another area to find his own wife and begin his own family, watch this, the mess that he experienced at home followed him where he was going. So let me first suggest to you in my first point that if you don't deal with the family issues that are in your bloodstream, then you're going to carry the germs of your family's situation into your new situation. In other words, you can carry your dysfunction wherever you go. I know there's some folk who just couldn't wait to get married so they can get out of mama's house. Well, if mama's house was a mess and you came out of that mess, then guess what? If you're not careful, you can carry that mess into your new situation. Mama was jaded when it came to men. And you brought that mentality into the relationship with your husband. It's going to get quiet in here in a minute. Daddy was AWOL, and you had no example on how to treat a woman, and you brought that lack of knowledge and understanding into your marriage. You were hurt and had trouble trusting folk. Now you don't trust your spouse, although they've done nothing to deserve that lack of trust. You watched your daddy disrespect and abuse women, and now you don't respect your woman. See, if we're not careful, we'll bring our baggage from home into our current situation. Just look at Jacob's family mess. Jacob had 2 wives, 2 concubines, 12 kids, by 4 baby mamas. Come on, somebody. The baby mamas didn't like each other. Jacob really only loved one of the baby mamas, but he had to put up with the rest of them, and he does because they have children by him. And guess what? Because the baby mamas don't like each other, the kids don't like each other either. Come on now, you know they weren't the Huxtables. They had some mess going on in that family. And the Bible said that Jacob has made so many wrong turns that he's caught up in a vicious cycle of dysfunctionality. Chapter 34 gives us a vivid description of Jacob's family mess because of Jacob's wrong turns. Watch this. His daughter Dinah, after going to visit the women of the land, was spotted by Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, the prince of the country, and Shechem raped her. And after he physically violated her, Shechem decided he wanted to marry her. And of course, Dinah's brothers are upset that he raped her, so they concocted a scheme to get back at Shechem. Shechem falls in love with her, and they say, okay, if you want to get married to our sister, all of the men in Shechem have to get circumcised. And the book says that while they are vulnerable because they have been cut, Jacob's sons now commit mass murder and kill all of the men of Shechem. So now Jacob has a daughter who's been raped. He has sons who are gangsters. He has wives who can't stand each other, kids who can't stand each other. What a jacked up situation that Jacob is living in. And all of us may not have a mess quite like that in our family, but we have some daddies who have strayed. We got some mamas who've been messed over. Come on, we've been in some bad situations between sisters and brothers. Some of us are in a messed up situation. Now, I know that may not be you, but it's somebody you know. Now watch, all of this began when Jacob made a wrong turn. Jacob is afraid that those who had been victimized are going to take out their revenge. He was wondering, is a drive-by going to happen? He was in fear for his children. Now, some folk I know move away from home, right? They move out in the suburbs, they move somewhere else so they can get a new start. They felt like they could get away from their problems. But guess what? The problems met them in the new environment. Why did they meet them in the new environment? They met them in the new environment because the thing that was the same in the old environment and in the new environment was them and all of their baggage. If you're not careful, you can carry your mess into your next situation. You may be wondering, well, Pastor, you sure giving us a lot of bad news. Is there any good news for somebody from a bad family? Well, yes, there is. Pastor John Claypool put it this way: God is so amazingly good that only God can write straight on crooked lines. And so my second point, sisters and brothers, God can take the crooked lines of your life and somehow write something straight on them. Many of you would not be where you are based on your background. But God said, in spite of your background, in spite of your past, I'm going to write straight on your crooked lines. There was another incident where another family found themselves lost, and this family also made a wrong turn, but they made use of the OnStar system. Anybody got OnStar? I used to drive a Buick, and I had an OnStar system in there. And OnStar simply means that you're a member of a network. And we are a member of a network. The network always knows where